How y'all feeling out there? Woo! You guys are the ones that take it seriously, yeah? There's not just fangirls and stuff in here. There's people who really want to make a go of this, which is cool. Welcome to Working with Brands session that we're going to be doing today. My name's Nick Hayward. I work at YouTube, and I lead the brand creator collaborations stuff that we do. So I'm talking as much to brands and third parties, MCNs, social agencies, as well as creators, talent agencies, managers, all the people who are involved in this wonderful world of creating a cool ecosystem where hopefully some amazing content gets made and people get paid, which is great. I'm just going to invite everyone up in a second because the first thing we're doing is trying to break the record for the amount of people on one panel talking about one really specific thing. And I think we've got 10. We've got 10, and everyone's really keen to say stuff. So my job is going to be to moderate, ask some questions, try and stop some arguments, and then I guess put it to you guys if you guys think you'll have questions, and try and get these guys to give some coherent answers. So if I could ask all our wonderful creators, guests, businessmen, entrepreneurs to come up on the stage. Big round of applause, everybody! So I'm gonna...
Don't worry, I've got a business uni kitty, so it's going to be professional.
Good stuff. I'm going to sit down as well, so it doesn't feel like I'm the teacher.
Yeah.
So yeah, working with brands, there's loads of people on the stage. To help me out, I'm going to just ask everyone to introduce themselves, say their name, what they do, if they work for a company, what company that is. And then, curveball, you didn't know this, if you have a YouTube channel or are a creator, I want you to tell us about a brand that you like, or a brand that you think is doing something interesting, and why that is. And if you are not necessarily a creator, I'm sure everyone has a YouTube channel, but if that's not the thing you're doing full time and you're mainly potentially talking with brands or talking with agencies or whoever, I want you guys to talk about a creator that you like or someone that you think is doing interesting things in this space, especially in the world of working with brands. I never prepped them on that question, so hopefully they're all clever enough to come up with an answer. So I'm going to start from my left, if that's cool. This is Watt. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Watt. I am one of the co-founders of the Nerdcubed set of channels, mostly focusing on gaming. And the question about a brand I like, we don't work with many brands, and that's kind of sort of someone we like. We really like Humble Bundle. We work with Humble Bundle and the work that they do, and most of what they do also supports charity and up-and-coming projects. So I will go with Humble Bundle as a brand.
So this is a fundraising website?
Well, it's a pay what you like for a bunch of indie games, and you get to decide how much money goes to charity, how much goes to the Humble store, and how much goes to the creators.
Okay, that's cool. Brilliant. What, everybody? Big round of applause. PJ, take it away.
Hello, I'm PJ, and I reside on the channel KickThePj, and I like to tell stories, make films, all that kind of stuff. And a brand that I like would be one that I recently worked with called Q Gardens. I just did a film for them, and they were super cool about what I got to make. They just said, look, we're trying to promote young people to plant more seeds and grow more trees and all that kind of nice stuff. And they said, just go have full reign and be as creative as you want. And I came back with an idea, and they just loved it and said, just do it. And they were cool. They were cool. I really like them, and kind of any brand that kind of gives you the creativity just to do what you think is right says a lot about a brand, because to me. So yeah, that's my answer.
Nice one. That's PJ, everybody. Just to give you some context on PJ, that's actually the UK government there, Kew Gardens, which is a big plus to the government. And we did a lot of work trying to explain to those guys that that's how they should approach it. So I'm glad they approached it like that and let you do your things. And the flowers that you planted will be growing at some point.
Yes.
Can people go and see those?
Did
you plant any flowers?
I planted well, in the film I made, it was a stop motion animation, and the seeds I used were actually almond nuts, so they probably won't grow into anything.
No, they might do. So if you see an almond tree in Kew Gardens, you know it's this guy.
Yeah.
Cool. And we've got Ian Samuels. Ian, do you want to intro yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Ian Samuel, and I am from Base 79, now Rightstar. And what we do, I suppose, on the Base 79 side, so for the last 5 years, we've built an MCN. And what we do for creators is we have a big team of salespeople who are plugged into all of the UK's and international major agencies who sell influencer-focused branded content. And in terms of some of the creators we love to work with, you know, we work a lot with gamers. So we worked with the Syndicate project last year on where we built a helmet that fed him pieces of a snack called Fridge Raiders, which won a Cannes Lion, which I think is the first time any creator has won that sort of prestigious advertising award. So we do lots and lots of stuff across multiple verticals and work with a whole load of creators both within and outside our network.
Ian Samuels, everybody. So I don't think anyone recognizes this guy. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm tyleroakley. I am a YouTuber, and I got in from America yesterday, so I might be a little bit like, ugh. But I make videos about my life, and I talk about pop culture, and I do fun little challenges and whatever I want to do that day. And a brand that I like, there's a couple brands that I like. I've worked with brands in the past, but I really like Taco Bell. Not because of like the food, but like also because of the food. But they're just really smart and conscious of who they're working with individually each time they work with somebody. And they ask, what are things that you want to do that you would never be able to do without us, and we'll make them happen. So they've been really great with helping me do projects like that. And then another would be DoSomething.org, which is a platform that helps people with influence achieve campaigns that focus on doing good and utilizing young audiences to get involved, because they're just cool and fun, and they get how to let you do your thing for whatever campaign you want to believe in. So those are some brands that I like. Thank you for your time.
tyleroakley, everybody. Okay, we've got Damien. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Damien Collier. I founded Viral Spiral 4 years ago. The first video that we started working with was Charlie Bit Me, and we've taken that to 250 million views. We've worked on brand campaigns with that and other viral videos for everyone from T-Mobile, Samsung, Google, Coca-Cola. The list is very long. We've actually done, on average, 1 brand deal a week in the last 4 years. We also work with vloggers, influencers, creators. We worked with, for example, Carrie Hope Fletcher last year. We connected her with the BFI and got her on the red carpet of the London Film Festival, reviewing films, meeting directors, helping the BFI grow their audience and tap into another demographic. So that's sort of been our focus over the last 4 years. We're also now part of the Rightster group, the same as Ian over there and Base 79, and combined we represent 1.2 billion views on YouTube. We have 10 offices around the world, and therefore quite a presence with the agencies and the brands who bring these deals. We're also not solely focused on YouTube. We built the world's first Vine network about 2 months after Vine launched, and we represent about 120 million followers for creators on Vine doing brand deals. the same as we do with YouTube.
Cool. Damien, everybody. Jamie, take it away.
Hey, I'm Jamie. I'm from Sorted Food, which is a channel that I run with 3 of my friends, Ben, Mike and Barry. Basically, we're all about trying to learn how to cook because me, Barry and Mike can't. And Ben is a chef and therefore can. And over the last 4 years, it's grown into an amazing community of people who are all sort of sharing recipe ideas and coming together to actually try and make people eat a bit better than I was when I was at uni. So yeah, we've been doing that for about 4 years. We've recently launched an app, which is also sort of a social platform where people can come together and really start to upload their own recipes. And yeah, that's kind of what we do. In terms of brands that I like or we like, just to call out one of the brands that we've been working with recently, I suppose, Tesco, which sounds weird because it's a massive brand, but they've helped us this year do things that we wouldn't have been able to do any other way. They basically let us ask our community what would they like to learn about food-wise, and offered to send us anywhere in the world to go and learn about a specific type of food. And the one that came back, which wasn't really much of a surprise, was chocolate. People wanted to learn everything about chocolate, so we went over to Ireland and went to see how chocolate gets produced and how it gets made. And we're now working on some projects with Tesco as well, where they're helping to grow the sorted food community by putting it onto ITV through a series of adverts and things, which has been really cool. So they kind of really get what we're trying to do and how they can help us, which has been nice. But yeah.
Wicked. Thank you. Jamie, Sorted Food, everybody. So I can see you, Matt. This is Matt, everybody. Could you,
Hi, I'm Matt Hogan. My name is Matt Hogan. Some of you might recognize me from youtube.com/talk, which is a YouTube debate show that uploads regularly. Anyways, I own a company called RTP, and it's a parent company to a bunch of other companies, such as RTP Management, where we do a little bit of talent management and work with brands to help Viners and YouTubers get connected. I also own a company called Wheezy Soup, which I co-own with YouTuber Wheezy Waiter, and we do app development there. And I own a company called Rocket Tent, which is our branding and brand development company, and that's where we work with YouTubers, brands, whatever, to create a campaign, to design it, to make it look flashy and new, to target it at the right audience. And as for brands that I like working with, I'm just going to pretty much say any brand that gives the creator freedom is a good brand. Those brands, we've had brands come to me and they are like, well, we want the creator to read this script, and I say, no, because it's not going to fit with the creator's audience. So any creator or any brand that says to the creator, hey, do what you feel is best for your audience, is an amazing brand to work with.
Ooh, Matt Hogan, everybody. Finally, Ricky Ray, take it away.
I'm Ricky Ray Butler. I'm the founder of Plaid Social Labs. We're basically a boutique agency that doesn't represent the talent, but actually represents the brands and bringing deals from brands to YouTubers. We like to consider ourselves as like the YouTube sugar daddy, where we have no strings attached. We just keep throwing in the cash. Hey, Tyler. We try to be Tyler's sugar daddy, but my favorite brands out there right now, and we have to be a little biased, and one of those is going to be Ubisoft. We've been working with them for almost about 4 years, and they've just been very open to innovation, and whenever the platform or things with influencers change, they adjust and adapt to that change, which I think is awesome. And as Sam mentioned, is they let the influencer have total control, which is very rare, and it's important.
Thank you very much. Thank you. There we go, that's it, guys. No. That's it. Okay, so I've got a few questions that I'm going to throw out there, and then I think there'll be some organic chat that will come out the back of that, and then we'll hand it over to you guys with any burning questions you have. But to try and just kind of anchor this and make sure everyone knows that we're talking around the same thing, I was going to approach Tyler first, if that's okay, just to describe a brand deal you've been involved with. You don't have to name the brand, but you could just but you can as well, but also just explain how that process started, how it ended, and just so everyone knows like what this stuff is that we're talking about.
Sure. So I do a fair amount of brand deals because I want to, and I find no shame in it, whereas a lot of creators kind of resent it or might not feel comfortable doing it or whatever. I'm comfortable doing them, but they usually they start with my MCN. So what happens is Big Frame, who represents me, they get incoming, or I tell them what kind of brands I would like to work with, and they reach out to them. But they get kind of some type of interest. And so then they ask me, are you interested in it? If so, we'll take it further and go back and forth with them and talk about potential things that you could do. In the meantime, start brainstorming video ideas. So that goes forward. They come back, say, okay, well, this is the offer. This is what they would like you to do. This is the type of stuff they would like you to convey. And then I kind of see, okay, well, is that beneficial to my audience? Is it beneficial to me? Is it freeing so that I can do whatever I want with the campaign? And is it going to be fun and like not obnoxious? And then if I like all those things, I move forward and I create the content. I submit it to Big Frame. They kind of hand it over for approval. I hear if it gets approved, and then I upload it on our scheduled day. So I've been doing brand deals since last January. My very first brand deal, we just found out, was with you back in January 2013, and I was so nervous. But now I'm to the point where it kind of works, and we know how it works, and my team kind of is like well-oiled at this point, I guess. So that there are no surprises. We know things that'll come up in edit or things that they might be wary of. But I don't work with anybody that doesn't get exactly the type of video I'm about to make. Like I'll talk about stuff in a video, and they have to be okay with me talking about, like, I don't know, anything sexual, anything vulgar, anything disgusting. Like, nothing is off limits, so the brand has to get that. And once we hurdle that, most things are very easy. And so, yeah, I work really closely with Audible, just like a lot of YouTubers. But they are really great for me because I basically just have like a book of the month club. And I treat it as such, where it's like Oprah's book club, but better. Because Oprah's like 10 years ago. So then, yeah, so that is the thing I do. I often like to incorporate brand deals into just a normal Q&A video, because it's part of the video, but it's never the full video. It's part of the experience of watching a video, but it's never like a commercial for it, like a full video advertising whatever they want me to do. So yeah, and like I said, I never do anything that's not something I wouldn't talk about. Like, it's not something that I wouldn't feel comfortable having a conversation with my friends about.
Cool.
Yeah.
Could I just ask you to expand on something you mentioned?
Sure.
I think it's really interesting. The whole kind of sign-off process, and obviously this is going to be different in each scenario. Do you set that process up really clearly from the start? And if so, have there been any times where it's caused a problem? Because I guess the thing is with YouTube creators and YouTube content is, if something's going to be authentic, then how do you go and change and edit if someone's not happy with it? And what processes and due diligence is there before that that avoid any of that kind of, oh, we need to go and start again?
Well, I make sure that they can give me talking points. I can pluck from there what I feel comfortable and what I like to talk about and what I think are the good things to tell my people. They cannot give me a script. And if they do, I'm like, oh, you're cute. come back in a year when you get it. Because it's just like, nobody's going to put words in my mouth. Like, that's never been me. And so that's not going to fly. And I've had instances where they've suggested, oh, we want you to say this instead. And I'm like, well, you don't understand. I just shot it. I'm not going to get back in the outfit that I was wearing and do my hair just right so that it looks like it fits, and then get the light. I would have to reshoot the entire thing. And so now we're at the point where if I do have to reshoot something, it will be worth my time to reshoot it.
Yeah. The deal will be structured. So
right, the deal will be altered because because we had agreed on talking points, and if you want me to say a specific word differently, that's not something we agreed on.
I mean, we obviously sit right in the middle of that in terms of we've got the client on one side saying, you know, can they wear a different cap or something crazy.
Bye.
And I think the challenge is that we're in this educational process of trying to educate brands and marketeers that it's a totally new way to look at selling products. In the way we recommend to work with creators is just show them the product and ask them how they would sell it, rather than saying we have a brand strategy and creative and it needs to fit within this process, this traditional sign-off process. And I think there's a long way to go. Some brands get it, others don't, but there's a long way, particularly in the UK. I think they're a long way ahead in the US.
Where would you, so you say the US in terms of the brand and marketeers and agencies, they're a bit further ahead. In the UK, less so. Anyway, you guys work across Europe. Do you see, where are the trends going in terms from the advertising world? How many difficult conversations are you having versus people who get it from the offset and Tyler's not going to have to wear it? Again,
it's like smart brands get it, you know, and you should get it. If you're approaching influencers about a campaign, you're obviously doing it for, you should be doing it for that very reason. I mean, but what we find across Europe is that it is totally new. I mean, we're going into markets like Spain where, you know, this stuff is entirely new in terms of how brands work.
Right. And you have to kind of educate them on how
exactly. So you have to you have to sell the concept,
right?
And then you have to also do the whole educational piece from the very beginning
Give the
through to the exactly through to the evolution, and it's painful actually. To be totally honest, sitting in between. You know, sometimes just because you're trying to keep everyone happy.
Just to that point, has anyone got a horror story that they would be
comfortable?
Yes.
It's not
you go first.
Tell us. No. As we know, PJ is very good at telling stories. Take us to that dark place.
It has been wanting to just come out. Everything Tyler's been saying, I've just wanted to say it. So I just thought, I'm just going to say it. So the thing I do is make films, and a lot goes into making. I mean, granted, they're short films. A lot goes into doing that. A lot of planning. A lot of you make a schedule, you stick to it. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. You have a space for a certain amount of time to shoot your film, and you stick to that schedule. So me and my crew. We're a small little collective, but we'd been working pretty hard for a couple of months on a project towards the beginning. I mean, if I'm honest, it was quite rocky from the get-go. Like, the client never really knew what they wanted.
Who's the client? Come on.
The client never really
They don't deserve the promo.
What they wanted. So we just kept trying to, but they didn't know what they wanted, but they didn't want anything that I was suggesting. So it was a really strange situation, but I just kept going with what I wanted to do, and we kept hammering on, going for it. In the middle of the production, I had to go in for an operation into hospital, and then I took like a week off after that and went straight on with the production. I thought this has to get done, so I'm just going to keep going. So kept going. We were working so hard, like I don't know how many hours a day, every single day, so many hours in a day. We lost track of time. We get into the studio. We've been building in this studio for 2 days, and it dawns on us, we haven't really, I mean, we've had the green light to go ahead with the production, but they've not really given us much feedback on it. So we set up to shoot and everything, 2 long days in the studio setting up, and then the morning of the shoot, our actors are arriving in half an hour, and I get a phone call saying, so by the way, when are you shooting? And I say, well, today. You've known that for quite a while. You've known we're shooting for quite a while. And they said, can you not? And I said, can you not do this to me right now? I don't need this. So they started to panic. They started to panic because the client above them, it was kind of a tier thing where they were kind of there were like two kind of middlemen in between the big fish, and the big fish hadn't actually greenlit the video. We were told they had. They were kind of lying to us and said, yeah, they've greenlit it, and they hadn't. So basically, they call me back like 10 minutes later saying, okay, can you shoot lots of extra bits just in case they want all of this? And I just said, well, no, because we've not scheduled for that. We've not planned for that. We have a script and a shooting schedule, and we're going to stick to that schedule. And if there's time, maybe I'll shoot some extra bits, but like it just wasn't feasible. We had like we were working to a schedule. So yeah, like if you, like brands, I don't want that to come across like super negative, because like a lot of the time when I work with brands, like it's genuinely really good experiences. It's just like there's this one that almost like there were times when like after months of work I was prepared to drop the whole thing and say, sorry, I'm not gonna carry on with the project, just because like it was their lack of organization really this is the stuff that you guys like don't hear about, like from like a creator's point of view. And like yeah, so I just carried on and went ahead with the production anyway. We got it done, and months after that, there was still a load of kind of like trying to get it done, and like it was the biggest like shambles ever, but it was one of the biggest learning experiences that I've had.
PJ, can I ask, what do you think the crux of that was then? Like, what did you learn from that? Like, was someone because you said that someone was saying it was okay, but someone above them was saying it's not okay. Is that just like an internal?
It was all about like the lack of like communication. Yeah. Like we were saying stuff, and it was kind of getting filtered through like two other people before it got to the top person, and it's just like we're all adults. Let's talk. This is we're trying to be as professional as possible. Let's handle it.
I'm really interested to know, PJ, in that situation, was there a contract? Was there a proper a delivery date?
Yes.
Schedule, brief?
Well, yes, there was at the start, but then like they kept pushing it back just because they weren't ready. Essentially, I've got to stress, like we were on top of everything. We were doing our best to go for it, and like we were just like having some really serious communication problems. So like word to the brands is just communicate properly, and like make sure that, I guess before you start a project, make sure you know what you want. Don't like start a project not knowing what you want and then start changing your mind.
It's always a giant game of telephone, because you know the brand has an agent and the talent has an agent, and you have to brand cannot talk directly to talent, and brand cannot talk to the other agent. It's all messed up. So you have to go through this ridiculous chain, and that can cause the biggest headache sometimes. I mean, I've been banging my head on a table with this one brand I'm working with right now, just because they can't, I can't directly speak to the head honcho. I'm like, I don't know what you want. What do you want? So, it's this giant chain of,
The biggest issues we've ever had working with brands is not the brands themselves, it's the agencies that sit in the middle. And brands have trusted agencies for like marketing and advertising agencies
a little too much.
For 50 years or something to do all their TV and press and print and stuff like that. And they think they can trust the agencies to do the YouTube stuff because they've trusted them to do everything else before. And the fact is, the agencies don't know anything about YouTube yet, and how to work with creators and how to get the best out of the platform and things like that. And so whenever we've had an agency involved, we've actually ended up doing their job as well, in terms of telling them when to upload, how to title it, how to put description and tags in. I think you're paying us to create content. Yeah. You're not paying us to consult you and do. And every deal now that we look to do, forget the agencies. We just want to work directly with the brands, because they might not get it, but you can have a direct conversation with them rather than try and go through all the middlemen and just cut it.
I think you're speaking to, the creator industry and ecosystem has created such huge audiences, and there's such skills and craft and creativity there, and the advertising industry hasn't caught up as such. So that gap means that you've got people that are used to having, like you say, certain types of conversations that are very framed work. Everyone knows what they've got to do, and then this whole new world comes, and that's the murky world that you have to get through. But when it works really well. But yeah, you highlight this kind of a gap.
People setting up companies now, the guys here, and doing agencies that do know exactly what to do, and that you can see how that can help, although we don't use it. But you can see how that can help.
Ricky, could you maybe speak to that? Because obviously you set up for that specific purpose.
Right.
And actually, there's lots of people who do this now, but how long ago did you guys set up?
About 5 years ago.
Yeah, and so how...
Which is kind of ancient in this space.
Yeah. But in that, you represent brands in those circles.
Yes.
So say, talking to PJ's nightmare story, what would be the thing that you guys would do, or what's the kind of role for someone in your position to make sure that doesn't happen?
Right. Well, first of all, never let a large ad agency's art director on set. That's going to be a problem, and we've made that mistake once, like 4 years ago, and it never happens again. It's about setting the proper expectations to the brand, letting them know, hey, this is your brand that's going to be integrated within someone else's brand. They own this media. It's their channel. And they have last say of what happens. You can give them bullet points. If they resist against those bullet points, we just cut the deal. We don't do it. And the whole goal here is where the brand, the YouTuber, and the audience are all happy. If the like to dislike ratio is worse than the other video that the content creator creates that has like to dislike ratio, if there's a lot more dislikes on the branded video, there's a problem that that's a sign that you sucked it up.
Yeah.
And
it's already happened.
Yeah, it's already happened. And we learned that. We were able to analyze, like, okay, these brand deals did really well, and these brand deals didn't do as well, and it's because the brand had a lot more say in those other deals. And we've had to learn with that, and we just tell brands now, we're like, okay, no, we will represent you, however, you gotta do it in a way that doesn't piss off the ecosystem. Yeah. And piss off the audience. Yeah. I mean, sometimes YouTubers will make the mistake of saying, yeah, I'll do whatever the hell you want, and that's a big mistake.
Yeah. Okay, that's really cool. Matt, could I ask you a question, please?
Sure.
So you, as far as I understand, as a creator, have worked within different parts of the industry.
Right.
Let's get a bit controversial here. Where, in your experience, did you see mistakes made or areas for improvement, and kind of what are your learnings having sat in those different seats throughout that process?
Biggest mistake is, like everyone's been saying here, is these brands approach YouTubers as if they're traditional media, and they're not.
When you say traditional media, give us an example.
Like they want a YouTube video to be a commercial. Oh, I bought this shirt at Target. No. And like that's what a lot of brands, are starting to want these days, and we have to break it down. I'm a little confused by what you're asking here.
I guess we highlighted that the traditional agencies maybe don't understand it as much.
Right.
What are the kind of consultancy role that you would play? What would be the advice to a creator in terms of? I mean, Jamie said he likes to go straight to brands.
It varies from creator to creator. Some creators like Sorted Food here are very professional. They understand how the industry works. They know how to work with brands. And then we have some creators that aren't necessarily, they weren't brought up that way. They don't know that side. They've always kind of been the creative people. So to them, I would say get some kind of representation on that end to handle that for you. Because, not everyone can handle themselves like that. But that's what I would suggest to a creator that doesn't feel comfortable telling a brand to F off or do anything like that. Yeah. Have your manager do it. And that way they look like a jerk.
Yeah. Okay, that's very useful. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to try and get rid of that negative, the horror stories that we're doing.
Before we move away from that, because we don't want it to just be a massive bitch fest. Can I just say one last anecdote just from that story, that horror story? One of the final straws was like on the day of the shoot. One of the things they asked me to do, they said, could there be more characters? Could you include some more characters? And I was like, well, we don't have any more costumes. We don't have any more people to play those characters. Where am I going to get more costumes from on the morning of the shoot? And eventually, actually, we had to cut one of the major characters because the event, because what we had made hadn't been, because our concept art and stuff hadn't been shown to the people higher up. When we eventually made the film and then they saw what we'd made, they were like, oh, we can't have this because it's this, it looks like this. So we just had to scrap a character. We had to scrap a huge chunk of the story because of all this awful communication. But yeah, that's my last thing. Where am I going to get costumes from on the day of the shoot? Okay. Yeah.
I lied actually. I do want to stay in that negative area a bit. But I'm going to Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to take us out there, hopefully. You come from a slightly different area of genre of creators. You understand that what could be seen as potentially a more advanced is it's got a longer legacy when like gamers and that kind of area and those kind of deals that get done. Could you speak to there's been recent press, there's been interesting issues around gamers and what their relationships are with studios and people who make games and what your opinion is on that and potentially something that isn't negative about it and how it helps or doesn't help, but I'll let you go for that.
Okay, so I predominantly run a gaming channel, and the way that we deal with brands a lot is, well, our channel in particular, we make enough money through ad revenue that we can kind of just go, we're going to stay out of it. But one of the things that is a problem is how people view what you're doing, and it's like, we view ourselves as an entertainment channel, but some people view us as game reviewers, and when you've got someone saying, here's some money, and all you have to do is play our game and be positive about it, and you're there going, is that corrupting a reviewing system, or is that someone just doing something? And so many people in that area just don't know what they are themselves, and their audience don't know what they are. And we ourselves, like loads of people call us a reviewer, and yet loads of people call us entertainment. And we see ourselves primarily as entertainment, but review is somewhat in there. So that's one of the sort of big things. But I mean, in gaming, particularly because it's so easy to see how well we influence the gaming market, that it's become such a big thing that, in particular, one of the big deals that has happened is one of the big collection of gamers has put together this contract where if they play a game of someone, for the next, I think it's a week or two, they get a set percentage of all sales of that game, sort of thing. So we are really getting to the point where we have serious power, but I'm not sure that it's going in the right direction, and you've got to be upfront, and full credit to the people who have done this. They have been quite open about it, and the reason we all know about this is because they put it on their website and said we're doing it, and I give them full credit for being open about that and being open about these things, as opposed to the numerous times, in particular there are certain games where we get through and we sort of ignore the email, and then we see all the good reviews of the game, and then we see the game go slowly worse, and you're like, okay, so those are the people who took that deal. And there's so much of that, and there's almost a sort of a denial of it, particularly in a lot of the people who watch the content. So I think it's important that if you are going to be taking these, be upfront with your audience. Because to be fair, your audience understands you need to make money and that you are doing something, and they're perfectly happy for you to make money. But be honest with what you've agreed to, particularly if it's not something that's miles away from what you would normally do.
That's very useful information. This goes out to anyone on the panel. What are the ways, there's a whole, YouTube being a creative platform allows you to have a whole bunch of ways of doing that, of being open and tell your audience, etc. What are the ways that you guys would advise is a good thing to do in that scenario, to say, I'm working with these guys or whatever? Has anyone seen anyone do that in an interesting way that's still
I mean, I think just being blunt about it.
Yeah.
Being blunt and open, saying, hey, this is a sponsored video, or thank you so much to this company that made this possible. I think the audience actually reacts a lot better than that than if you're to try and hide it in some way. Because the audience can tell when you're full of BS.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're just up front, like, hey, you know, I like eating food, so this is paying my bills this week.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you're happy with the deal, I think that it should be something that you're happy enough to talk about in a very open way. If you find yourself kind of umming and ahhing about how to tell people that you're doing it, it doesn't feel like you're 100% happy with the deal that's on the table.
And I think that speaks to, I mean, look around you, all these intelligent people. I think everyone gets it, like you say, right? If you're saying that you're working with someone, or someone has said, They've made this possible. People know that, like, PJ, if you're going to make an amazing short film out the back of it, this isn't something that you get paid for by your paper round and then you go and make a film. The brand are in it because they're helping you create something the audience would like.
Go on, sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, because when people ask, like, what exactly am I? What am I? Like, is it like, am I a YouTuber? Am I a vlogger? And like, am I a filmmaker? Like, I wouldn't like call myself a filmmaker. I think the term I use is just like YouTube filmmaker or a filmmaker on YouTube or something like that. And like, but completely independent. Like, I started by just doing like whatever I could afford with what's around the house and stuff. Like. Basically, when a brand comes to you and says, we love your stuff, like, we'd like to just give you some money to make a film, like a cool film, then that's like to be able to fund like something bigger and better and really push yourself and like make something awesome for yourself and for the audience and for the whoever's paying for the, it's great.
I think it's kind of evolved in terms of the way in which brands work with influencers from, I suppose, the early days of, you know, a PR company sending a beauty blogger a lipstick through to where we are now, which is, you know, full-on branded entertainment projects, or indeed bringing, you know, cross-pollination of YouTubers into film, you know, so and everything exists in between, and we're going through this process of, you know, lots and lots of creativity going into how brands work with influencers, lots of products, agents, MCNs, and influencers, and I think it's just about finding the right people and figuring out the right mix.
And it's going to be separate for each creator.
Exactly.
It's not going to be the same mix. You're not going to get along with the same MCN. You're not going to get along with the same agent or whatever for every single creator. It's different.
We find that, particularly in the UK, I think the US influencer brand model is a lot more developed than it is here, but because it's quite new in the UK in many respects. And actually, a lot of creators or a lot of the big US MCNs aren't necessarily here yet, that we almost act as a consultancy, if you like, that whether it's influencers within our network or outside our network, we go out to brands and agencies and we educate them on how to work with influencers, and then we put the right influencers and ideas to the right projects.
Cool. Thank you for that. Tyler, could you speak to, again, the positive side of these arrangements, where, like, what are the kind of things that a brand deal or any of these things allow you to do? You spoke to the fact that you do them, you have no shame in doing them, and you like doing them in some, but what does that mean? Like, what does this allow you to do? How does it work, or do you just love talking about brands?
I just love talking about brands. There's nothing better. I mean, to be a YouTuber, in a sense, is to be able to experience life and to put it on YouTube. If I were to have a full-time 9-to-5 job, it would limit the amount of experience that I can experience. So to have brands support me and give me the income that is going to be, you know, my substitute for my 9-to-5, it allows me to live a life worth coming back into my living room and talking about on camera. Whereas it's not just, so today I woke up again and I watched Orange is the New Black, and thank you for watching, push thumbs up. It gives me the opportunity to free my schedule so that I can go and live life and do new crazy stuff to come back and talk about. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting perspective. I've never heard it put like that. It's that free, like, what are you going to talk about if...
Right. I mean, as a vlogger, it depends on me living. Like, I think of Joey Graceffa. He goes and does crazy, crazy stuff all the time because he makes a video every single day. If he were to just sit in his room every day and not do anything, then that would be monotonous content. But to be able to live a life worth coming and talking about and making a video about, which he does, I think he's living his life to the fullest, which is worth watching. He might have to have brands. I don't know if he does. I don't know what his process is. But most YouTubers will probably need somebody to be supporting that vision, supporting that lifestyle, and believing in it enough to encourage them to go out and do whatever they need to do so that they make great content.
I think it is that there is a level of, if you're giving your audience something extra that's made possible, that it's one of those ones where it's like, I couldn't do this otherwise. And
Yeah.
it does definitely be something that helps.
And I think the audience is accepting of that and okay with
Yeah.
that, and they want you to be able to like live. They want you to be able to eat. Nobody's like, how dare you talk about Audible? It's just it's like a thing.
Yeah,
like
No, that makes
you don't watch a TV show without commercials in between.
Yeah.
Well, that and even TV shows these days, if they're drinking, you know, I don't know what American Idol, X Factor, whatever. Look at their glasses. You know, it's Snapple, it's Pepsi, it's Coca-Cola. It's integrated into that content. So I mean,
Ice Valley.
I love Ice Valley.
shut up.
Thank you, Ice Valley.
This was an expensive.
much are we
sponsor-
getting
This
paid?
was a very
Yeah,
expensive
it's-
sponsorship. This.
Okay, PJ, could you talk to, I think anyone who's seen PJ's content, especially the stuff that he's done with brands, can see that that's him coming up with those ideas as opposed to an agency or someone else. How does that process work? Do you get to Matt's point? Do you get to meet that top guy to go, this is what we want to do and you need to sign it off here? You talk, like, just talk us through how long that takes and how different it is to just making a short film that is not involving a brand.
Well, I mean, when you're just making a short film, like just yourself with no like, where there's no like brands involved, like there's no one other than yourself and your audience. There's no one you have to like cater that to. But when you're working with a brand, there's like that third thing that's four. There's that third thing. Like there's the brand that you have to kind of like, you have to please them in some way, but like you can't like jeopardize pleasing yourself or your audience to do that. So the process, it can be a lengthy process to make sure that everybody's happy, but also to make sure that your voice is like heard, like and what you will do, what you won't do, that kind of thing. And
Sorry, just to that point, lengthy. When you hear a start conversation to something being released, how long like can that be? Because I think this always surprises people when, like, especially like, advertisers, when they're like, no, we need to do it next month. It's like, wow.
Yeah, like sometimes like a project can be like, it can be mentioned saying, oh, this could be coming up soon, and then when it does come up, it could be like, it might be like 7 months later that the actual final thing gets released. Usually, like, I mean, that's a long commitment, and that's only happened to me like I think once, maybe twice. I quite like stuff with a quick turnaround. I like just like getting in there, doing it, and that's that. But yeah, the process, like for me, that this is like really important. This is like the make or break thing. It's like if they're gonna get down with like what I want to do, then that's cool. Like a lot of the time, I'll put it bluntly, I'm going to say, look, I'm going to want to either do something really surreal or something really dark or something really like weird. Are you okay with that? And when they say yes, I start saying what my surreal and weird and dark ideas are. And if they're still like by that point,
Always
if they're
perfect for a brand. Surreal, dark and weird.
and that's the thing, but that's what I do. It's like, and if they start saying, oh no, we don't want that, then it's like, then why have you approached me if you don't want like the weird, like the stuff that I would usually do is weird. That's what I would want to do, just like on a bigger scale. So I mean, like, and it's the brands that really like cater to what you like. I did a project for BlackBerry last year, I believe. It was like nearly a year ago now. I was almost starting it, and basically they just said like, what do you want to do? We want to give you like an opportunity. What do you want to do? And I said, Pinewood would be a cool place to shoot at, and Pinewood being this huge film studios in just off of London in Uxbridge. And I said, yeah, that would be a cool place to go shoot a film. And they said, cool, we'll make it happen. What's the idea? And like, then I just started saying like, well, I've got this idea for a film and it involves all of this and this. And they were just like, yeah, cool, all sounds good, do it. And like, that was insane. Like, I shot at Pinewood, like that's something I couldn't do by myself. Like, I don't know how much like the studio space we used cost, but I personally would not be able to pay for that out of my own pocket. And like, yeah, it was more just the experience of like actually going and doing it and stuff, and but then like making the film itself was just so special, and like it was a great experience. That film, by the way, is the Forever Train. That was the film we shot at Pinewood, and
Check
like
it out.
yeah, that was
So
yeah. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Just last question before we take it to these guys. Damien, could you speak to, maybe Ricky, you can speak to this as well. I work at YouTube. But there are other platforms, there are other places content goes. How does that work when working with a brand? Are there, and let's focus on the YouTube creator, but how important or not important is it to coordinate that across other platforms? How do you approach that?
Well, the most important thing for a brand is ROI, return on investment. What is the result of the campaign they're creating? How many cans of Coke are they going to sell? How many blackberries are they going to sell? That's where it starts. And I think, where some of the problems lie, tying back to some of these conversations, is often for brands and their agencies, they focus initially on the numbers. How many views am I going to get from my video? And that's why sometimes there's a creative impasse, because they go after creators who have 1 million subscribers and who get 150, 200,000 views per video, but they don't actually watch the videos. So by the time they get to the point of filming, they suddenly have a shock as to what they're going to get. So I think that's why companies like ours and yours and Base 79 play an important role, because we stand in the middle and we understand both sides. We understand the creators and the brands, and it's important to have that conversation early on, so that you know exactly what the brand is trying to achieve and that you're aligning them with the right creator. And that can involve giving them a full understanding of which, coming back to your specific question, which platforms the creator's involved in, or, as we often do, pooling together a number of different creators from a number of different platforms who all speak to the brand message and what they're trying to achieve.
Cool. Ricky, you have anything?
So, like, working with other platforms?
Yeah, so, the coordination of that, or how much a brand asks for that, or is that just something that you
Yeah. Usually the brand likes to package a couple things together. Like, okay, if you're going to do a YouTube video, be sure to put social support behind that YouTube video, like with Twitter and Facebook, which is something every YouTuber does anyways. It's just, the brand just wants to make sure that they get every, bit of value as usual. But we've been kind of experimenting, like, on the different platforms, like with Instagram and with Vine, and those platforms are awesome. Like, there's so much crazy engagement. We did something with, like, Logan Paul and Just Dance 2014, where we got like 800,000 likes and 750,000 revines. But still, our focus will always be YouTube. For some reason, it's just always more effective.
And also, that's just about numbers again. You see, part of, I think, the attraction to YouTube for brands is you have the data and the analytics. You know that better than anyone because you're at YouTube. Mm-hmm. So Vine has just started to introduce the loop count, which I think is a really important development for brands.
You get a higher click-through ratio on YouTube, where with Vine and Instagram and stuff like that, you don't have clickable links. Even like on
it can't scale.
Yeah, you can't. So the brand can't. You can't put a Bitly link down and say, no, brand. We gave you, X amount of traffic, and so there's no real way to gauge that with platforms like Vine and Instagram.
Okay. Although they are developing, and sometimes what we do is we do sort of paid Twitter card campaigns, especially if we're working on something to promote an app. Right. We support it with paid media, because this is all about earned media, right? For the brand, this is organic views. Sometimes we support it with paid media to drive downloads or whatever the brand is trying to achieve.
For sure. And one thing to remember, there's some. Oops. Nope. Once in a while, there's companies that. Thank you. Once in a while, there's companies that sometimes try to guarantee views that a specific YouTuber is going to get. And if you're going to put media behind that to make it so that video has more views, I feel like that's not, you're kind of overlooking the purpose of why you're working with a YouTuber.
Yeah. Right.
The views that they're going to get are going to be organic, they're going to be genuine, and it's going to be a loyal audience watching it. So if they get 100,000 views or 50,000 views, those are the right views.
The engagement, yeah.
Right.
But to your earlier point, YouTube wins.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. I've been told to kind of wrap it up soon, but does anyone have a burning question? Maybe we've got time for one or two. Hands up. And do we have mics out there, or am I just going to have to be an idiot? Yeah, I'm going to have to be an idiot. Okay. Young lady over here. Do you want to...
Hi, I just want to say, well, your channels are really big and you have a lot of subscribers, so you can work with brands and say more things. But what would you recommend to someone who has smaller channels, how to start working with brands?
Would you like to answer that question? Any hands up? Okay, I'm going to go with Tyler, if that's okay.
I see a lot of networks or representation saying, we will be able to get you this, we will be able to do this for you. But I think the biggest thing is look at how many people they represent. If they represent tens of thousands, good luck getting anybody on the phone. Good luck getting anybody to reply to your emails.
Amen.
Unless you are top tier. And I think also a good representation is how many people they represent, and do more people than that follow them on Twitter. Because like if they represent 100,000 channels and they have 10,000 followers, they might not have some happy people. 90,000 unhappy people. But I think the biggest thing is, being able to get somebody on the phone, getting somebody to reply to email, and them being honest with what they can actually offer you.
Preach.
And I think the biggest thing is talk to other creators. Ask them their experience. Ask them, what is it like to work with big frame? What is it like to work with full screen? Whatever MCN or whatever representation, or agents, if it's like CAA or WME. Everybody works with some people. Research who's worked with them and ask them what their experience has been, and if they were able to offer a realistic expectation.
What a great answer.
If I could add to that, amen. You have to have an MCN that has a quick turnaround and are efficient with their systems. Big Frame is a perfect example. We're able to go to them and we know we're going to get an answer, yes or no, of what channels are going to be interested in or which channels aren't. But as like a small channel, you have a lot of value. A lot of the channels that we work with, we go on campaigns that focus on conversions, and sometimes the channels that have like 10,000 subscribers and average like 500 to like 1,000 views actually do really well. And sometimes it makes more sense to work with 500 channels instead of one really big channel.
Good.
I would like to say that if you're a new channel, just make sure you know who you are and what you're bringing to the table and what is negotiable and what isn't.
And don't compromise who you are.
Exactly.
I once had a brand deal ask me to tone down the gay. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, recognize who you are and what you can realistically do, because I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Nor would I.
I don't know if we've got time. Have we got time for anything else? No. Yeah, they're ignoring me, so yeah, let's do it. Who could put their hand highest in the air?
Oh my.
This young lady stood up. She's thinking, okay.
I was just wondering, you said like with agencies it never tends to work, but I work for a marketing agency and I want to try and get them involved in working with YouTube and trying to introduce it. So do you think that it would ever work, and when you get like creatives involved, or do you think you really do need like full reign?
So suggest to put that to Jamie, who was the guy who said potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that would.
So can creators ever work with agencies in the future? Was that kind of... Yeah.
What could they do?
Yeah. It's education. I think as soon as the agencies start learning more about how YouTube works, how to make the best out of it, then I think there's really good ways that they can work. So agencies are usually really creative. So if they can add more creative to what the YouTube creator would be doing, then that can be a really good thing. But they need to be able to add value rather than just get in the way.
And listen.
Yeah, and listen and respect what's coming from the creator
It's worth
side.
mentioning that actually the big advertising agency groups, already have staff who are starting to solely do this sort of stuff. So there is, and actually most of the business we do is through agencies. So it's not that they're getting in the way, it's that they're protective, as you know, of the client relationship and managing that part. So it's just about the layers, managing up and managing down. But I think agencies are always going to be important they're vital to the growth of this industry.
Cool. That's very useful, guys. I think we've got to wrap it up there. But a huge thank you to you all. You've all said some really clever and interesting and funny stuff, which I think we all appreciate. And thank you for all of you listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
We'll be out here if you want to talk more.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks.